Hello everyone, my name is Fangbing Xiong. I'm a fifth-year PhD candidate from Rutgers University, Rutgers Business School, Department of Accounting and Information System. I'm very glad to present our research project here named Transforming Education Through Digital Role-Playing Games. At the very beginning, I'm going to give you an introduction on the project background and the initial motivation of the research project is due to a serious challenge in accounting education. The challenge is the sharp drop in accounting students' enrollment. According to the American Institute of Certificated Public Accountants (AICPA), their trends in report of 2003, we can see a marked decline in students' enrollment in accounting programs for both bachelor degree program and master degree program. After the practitioners find that trend, some scholars try to explore why the decline exists in the accounting field. Because such a decline in the accounting field in accounting education has caused problems and leads to the accountant shortage in the industry. So these scholars, they survey the students and they find one significant reason is accounting faces significant negative image issue. Students feel accounting is boring and learning accounting is unexcited at all. As a result, we think it's a time to develop innovative solutions to attract and retain students in the accounting field. And we choose the game-based learning because game-based learning has been shown that can effectively increase the students' engagements. And such an increase is even more significant towards the new generation students who grow up with smartphones and computers and get familiar with all the technologies. Then I'd introduce what the digital role-play game is in education. Traditionally, when we're talking about game-based learning, we are talking about Jeopardy's card games where students answer the questions and gain points. But digital role-play games is different. In digital role-play game, the RPG, players assume a character roles in the fictional settings, making decisions that influence story progression. That is, a digital role-play games gives the students the whole story, where the students can participate in the story and the decision and actions they made in the story will impact the storyline. Such DRPG engages students with scenarios mimicking real activities and support various teaching and learning levels. When we say mimicking the real activities, we are talking about for the subjectives like accounting and business. These subjects are highly connected to the real-world practice, and in the DRPGs, we can build this real-world practice together with the theories the students need to learn as the storyline. In such a way, we can mimic the real activities in the game. And depends on what difficulty level of the theory is, we build the story, the scenarios in the stories on the different difficulty level. In such a case, the RPGs can support various teaching and learning levels. The previous scholars have shown that DRPGs shows a significant potential to benefit education across subjectives. Subjectives like mathematics, chemistry, history, and language learning. Has been benefits from applications of the digital role-play games. And here is a screenshot from a previous scholars shown in 2022. So you can see what happened in the game is the students play a character here, and the students can walk around anywhere they like and talk to the NPCs, non-player characters, to communicate with the NPCs and show their opinion. Additional to asking the survey questions, the NPCs, the non-player characters, can also provide information, asking questions, or the NPCs can work together to build a whole storyline for the students. So the students can participate in the game. Generative artificial intelligence makes it possible for more educators and scholars to build a DRPG, the role-play game for education. One famous generative artificial intelligence is ChatGPT. The history of GAI is not that long. It was first built in 2018 and was a transformer-based natural language learning process. It has become a promising tool to improve and enrich the contents with the gamified technologies. By creating dynamic content generations, enable the personalized learning experience and visual and interactive elements in education. And we are going to look into the details of these three contents in the following slides. In the introduction of the background, we've already seen the challenge of accounting education, the nature of the RPGs, and the generative AI. Now we'll get into the research introduction. Our research projects are divided into two parts. The first one is a design science research, and another one is a behavioral research. In the design science research, we propose a framework to develop digital role-play games with AI for accounting courses as a case study. And for the behavioral research, we do experiments among students and we evaluate the impact of the DRPGs. So in the behavioral research, we first use develop AI-assisted DRPGs as demonstration. Then we invited 128 students to participate and do the survey after they play the DRPG games. Basically, the introduction of the research. Now I'm going to show you the digital role-play games, the framework and demonstration. First, how AI can empower an education game. So AI can create dynamic content generations and add adaptability in the game. The AI generated multiple events based on the students' decisions. So previously, in the digital role-play games, we have to set several defined events. Like when the students choose option 1, the scenarios 1 will occur. When students choose option 2, the scenario 2 would occur. Every scenarios exists based on kind of rules. However, AI generated contents can makes it more adaptable. In the current situation, the students may not to choose one option. The students type and talk to the game what the students want to do directly. In this case, the students' interaction with the games like open questions. Students can have many different actions, many different dialogues towards the non-player character. Then the AI would give the students different events happened based on the students, their interaction in the game. So it will diverse the learning scenarios. Because previously, the rule-based game can only take limited scenarios and with a limited situations built in its content. However, with generative AI, students get much more flexibility. It also helps the students to understand the impact of their decisions. Previously, the students, their decision is just some options, some defined options from the educator's opinion. For instance, in an event, students can only choose reject a gift or accept a gift. However, with more scenarios become adaptable, the students can now choose their own action, make their own decisions, such as run away from the scenarios, pretend the students want to accept the gift, but finally not. That's how AI can make the more dynamic content generations and adaptability in the education game. Here is an example how AI role-play games can help the students. In this case, students can set their own adventure, set their own characters, plot, and desired writing styles. And after input this information in AI would create the story, customized for that students only. And after read this story, students can later um, interact with the AI in their own way, and the AI will create another scenarios based on the student's decision. So this is an example how AI role-play games can be used in education to enrich the dynamic content generation. The second advantage of AI in education game is a personalized learning experience and tutoring. As we've just mentioned, AI can create the content based on the students, their own decisions. It can also adapt to the individual patterns of the students and enable the sophisticated personalizations. For example, if a student consistently struggle with a certain type of calculations, the AI tutor might generate additional practice in that scenarios, just for the student to practice the specific type of calculations many times until the student fully understands the theory behind the calculations. And the AI tutoring can also provide hints if students really meet some challenges and they cannot solve it. So in this case, the personal learning experience and tutoring becomes possible in the education game. The last thing AI could impart education game is the visualization and interactive elements. The visualization can include charts, graphs, videos, and the interactive elements can be added in the environment and characters. Let's imagine a situation. Now the students are in a class to learn the appreciation of paintings. In the game, the students can walk into a museum and stop by some famous paintings. Then the paintings start to talk. Mona Lisa is now introducing um, who Da Vinci is and when was her created, what was the background, and why she became so famous. Such a visualization in the game can reduce the student's cognitive load and make the knowledge impressive for the student to learn. Students can even upload their own photos and images to make a character in the game with the assist of AI. In our research projects, we propose a framework how to fit AI game with accounting, and I like to use it as an example here to see how to fit AI game with the subject. The first thing the educators need to do is define the learning objectives and game mechanics. That is, what theories, what knowledge are you trying to teach your students in the game? Then you can set the game narrative and word background. It can be you can create the environment set mimicking the real world, the current time, or the history, or in the future, anytime. Educators can also create more fantasy-like background where people use magic, where dragons flies. This is not really a problem to write the storyline. What the educators need to do is tell AI what kind of game setting you want and what theories do you want to teach the students. Then the generative AI can create the detailed background setting for the educators. After write the outline of the story, the educators can use the generative AI to transform the subject task into the game elements. Then divide the game and operate beta test. The last step is finalize, evaluate the game, and deliver the game to the students. And here is a framework we propose how digital role-play games assist with AI can fit accounting gamification education. For example, how dynamic content generations and adaptabilities can fit the implementation of the RPGs in accounting. Since we believe most of the subjects can create the dashboard by themselves, find a specific way to fit the DRPGs in their education. We just put the dashboard here as a reference for the other educators. And these slides continued the how AI games fit with accounting in personalized learning experience and visualization and interactive elements. Here's a demonstration of our accounting game built with the assistance of a generative AI. We built this game 2 years ago. At that time, generative AI is not that powerful. So we only use the generative AI to write the storyline, the chats between the non-player characters and the players. We haven't embedded the dynamic scenarios and personal tutoring in this game, but we do believe it's possible with the development of generative AI. In the next session, we are going to show you the empirical results of the the RPG games in accounting education. We built the game for introduction. With the development of generative AI. In the next session, we are going to show you the empirical results of the RPG games in accounting education. We built the game for introduction to financial accounting, and we invited about 250 students from Rutgers University. 128 students responded to our invitation and played the game. In our experiment, we have one treatment group, one control group. The treatment group played the digital role-play games with the assistance of AI. The game will take students about 20 to 30 minutes to finish. And the control group, they just play a more traditional game, which takes about 15 minutes to finish. After the two groups play the game, they need to finish a survey. In our survey, we use 4 variables to evaluate students' attitude towards accounting. The first one is perceived learning, the degree that students believe they have learned through the educational activity. Since our primary goal of the research of applying the RPG in accounting is to attract the students, we use perceived learning as an objective measurements to compare students' objective feeling towards accounting and towards accounting learning after playing the game. The second variable is motivation, the driving force that encourages students to engage and persist in learning activities. We also evaluate the flow, a state of deep immersion in an activity, attitude, students' overall feelings towards an education activity. To better understand the whole mechanism, we also set the reward system. That is, when students play the game, they may meet some playful elements. These playful elements has nothing to do with the knowledge itself. Like when the students explore our accounting town, the students find a coconut on the ground. And in the coconut, students find a coin. So through such a surprise, or we say reward system, we evaluate students' participation in the playful scenarios. And we don't force the students to participate in the playful scenarios. We just, at the beginning of the game, we told the students, if you explore the game more, you may find some surprise, but this is not mandatory. And here's descriptive statistics of our participants. We have 128 students participate, and we get 116 valid response from the students. The variables we use are perceived learning, the RPGs that whether students in the control group or in the treatment group, coins, how much the students participate in the playful scenarios, motivation, flow, attitude. The following are the control variables. Whether students have the role-play game experience, what's the student's age, their gender, the time they spend in the game, and their accounting learning experience. How many years have they learned accounting? Here's the results of our experiments. Basically, it shows that if the students play the digital role-play games, it will has the positive effect towards their perceived learning, towards accounting. And if students participate more, voluntarily participate more in the playful scenarios, the students also have their perceived learning towards accounting enhanced compared to those participate less in the playful scenarios. So the empirical results from the behavioral study, we found that the digital role-play game format and the player engagement are positively linked to perceived learning. In the reward system of the digital role-play games, flow effects are holistic, enhancing the overall game experience. And flow benefits the learning mainly through the impact on motivation and attitudes. It means that if we can give the students a deep, immersed experience when playing the game, students' perceive learning, attitude, and motivation towards the subject can significantly become more positive. So our results highlight the importance of the well-designed games that foster the engagement and learning. As an external rewards like coins are more effective as a complementary rather than the primary gamification strategies. And this is the end of my presentation. In the presentation, we saw why we may need the digital role-play games in gamification, how AI can empower the digital role-play games, and through an behavioral experiment, we find the digital role-play games real benefits the students' perceived learning, motivation, attitude, and their flow. Thank you for participation. And thanks Rogers online conference to give me a chance to present our research project there.